A very good morning to all my beloved first semester students of the Department of Business Administration. I hope all of you are doing well and a very happy Durga Puja in advance. So a few days ago, as per my commitment, I have provided notes pertaining to the first part of the first unit of business communication. I've also shared a link of a video which contains the discussion of the notes which I have provided to you. I've also conveyed my expectation regarding the fact that whenever you get an access to the notes and whenever you get an access to the lectures given by the teachers, you will not waste time, you will not procrastinate and prepare the notes on that day itself. I'm very sure you have done that. I have also conveyed my expectation that while going through the notes, if the student finds any problem, if he faces any doubt, he should not hesitate to ask the teacher. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I will be glad enough to clarify your doubts to the best possible extent I can. So with the expectation that you have gone through the notes that I have provided to you last day, let us start the discussion related to the next part of the first unit. Probably you remember on the last day, I have also mentioned that I have actually categorized the first unit of business communication into 4 parts. The discussion related to the first part includes the concept of business communication and the process of business communication, which we have already completed on the last day. Today, we will discuss the different types of business communication. So, I hope that you remember the discussions or the lectures that I have provided last day. So, based on that, let me tell you that whenever the sender wants to send the message to the receiver, the message is first constructed in the mind of the sender, which is in an intangible form. The expressions that the sender associates with the intangible message that he has in his mind is called symbols. I've told you that business communication is a subject that has borrowed concept from psychology. So since it borrows concepts from psychology, it will include some jargons. Symbol is a term which is specifically used to refer to the expression given by the sender while he is sending the message to the receiver. The expression basically means that how he converts the intangible message that is there in his mind into something which is understandable by the receiver. He can convert it by using words. He can do that by using some gestures also. For example, I have told you that, say, for example, in a class, the students are yelling. A teacher arrives at the class and puts his fingers in his lips. That is a gesture, but the meaning of it is that he wants the students to be silent. Just like that, a teacher arrives at the class and the teacher, without putting the finger in his lips, he just mentions that I want silence in the class. Then he has used a different symbol, but the meaning is same. Now, based on that, I want to mention that communication can be categorized into 2 types. One is where you are using words, which is called verbal communication, and other where you are using gestures, which is called non-verbal. So please pay attention. I will share the screen with you. Just like other day, I have also today also I have prepared a PPT presentation, and these PPT presentations will include the slide presentations of the notes that I have provided to you in the form of PDF. So here we go. I'll just enlarge it for you. So this is what I have mentioned. The subject matter of communication, the subject matter can be anything. It may be mistakenly perceived that the subject matter can be only the information. No, it can be it can be an idea, it can be a suggestion, it can be an emotion. So it's not in a physical form. Why it is not in a physical form? Because first it is constructed in the mind of the sender. In the mind, it is in an intangible form, and the transmission requires the use of certain symbols. So the subject matter of communication is encoded. So attaching a symbol to the message that is in the mind of the sender is called encoding. Now, communication symbols may either be in the form of words or which is either oral or written, or it may include some gestures or pictures, which is actually what we refer to as non-verbal communication. So in the subsequent slides, we will discuss the details regarding the merits and the demerits of different forms of communication. Now, oral communication are the most common. Why? Because 90% of the time, the communication that we have with everyone around us, surrounding us, is oral. Written is a more formal way of communicating. So you write to someone whenever there is a structure, whenever you need to maintain a formality, but the most common is oral. So oral forms in the organizations is the most widely used. 50% of the times, the forms of communication is oral. In oral communication, both the parties to the communication, sender and the receiver, exchange their ideas through oral words, which can either be a face-to-face interaction, or it can be making use of a device like telephone. But regardless of whether it is a face-to-face interaction or the use of a telephone, of a device like telephone, whenever there is a word which is being spoken out, then we refer to this as oral communication. Now, oral communication is one of the merits is it is very easy. Oral communication is the easiest one, as it saves times and cost in decoding the ideas into words, because the transmission of the message happens then and there. So if it happens then and there, either in the form of face-to-face interaction or in the form of telephonic conversation, the receiver, if he does not understand, can ask something to the sender, also can ask his query to the sender. But this does not happen in case of written communication. Why? Because in written communication, you write it down and you send it to the receiver. The time when the message is being written and the time when it is being received is not simultaneous. But this happens in case of oral communication, because whenever it is spoken out, then and there it is received. So if there is any doubt on the part of the receiver to understand the message, he can ask the query to the sender. So it can be used to send message instantly, as I have told you. So with the development of telephone facilities, 2 or more parties can also exchange in such sort of oral communication. Now it is effective. Oral communication is an effective system because in face-to-face oral communication, possibility of the use of gestural communication has increased. Why? Sometimes what happens is that in case of written communication, when you write down and you send it to someone, the person to whom, the receiver to whom you have sent, he is not physically present in front of you. So you cannot make out whether he understood or not from his gestures or from his facial expression. If he only writes back that he did not understand, then only you can figure out that he did not understand the message. This does not happen in case when the receiver is physically present in front of the sender. When the receiver is, say for example, a teacher is conducting a class and the student is physically present in front of the teacher. Now the teacher, apart from a student asking any doubt to the teacher, apart from that, the teacher can also make out whether the student has understood the message or not from his facial expression. So this is not happening in case of written, but it happens in case of oral communication. Therefore, it is said that oral communication is far more effective than written, because you can understand the feedback or you can receive the feedback from the receiver as a whole. It is not that you are just, as is the case in case of written, you are just getting a message without understanding his expressions. This does not happen in case of oral communication. As I mentioned earlier, instant feedback. In oral communication, there is an instant feedback for the message transmitted. So instant feedback from the receiver allows the sender to recast the message. As I have told you while discussing the process of communication also, that feedback is an energizer to the process of communication. Energizer means what? That whenever there is a feedback from the receiver, then the sender can determine his next course of action. So thus there is a very little scope for ambiguity, because the message or the transmission of message that is going on between the sender and the receiver is happening at the same point of time, and there is an instant feedback. One of the major demerits of oral communication is lack of proof. Lack of proof means, say for example, someone tells you that tomorrow you come there at a particular place at 6 p.m. Now you do not go. And when the person who has asked you to come, when he, say for example, inquires why you did not come, you refuse, you deny that he did not even tell you. So you can do that in case of oral communication. Why? Because in case of oral communication, you do not record it. Whenever there is a record of whatever messages that is being transmitted between the, or whatever message that is transmitted by the sender to the receiver, then this record becomes a proof. But this does not happen in case of oral communication. Lack of authenticity. What it actually means is that most of the time the oral communication is not taken as seriously as a written communication. Say for example, in the college, the principal writes a complaint to the guardian of a student. It will not happen with you. You are all very good students. I'm randomly saying that any student in the college, the principal or the teacher has written a complaint regarding the student to the guardian. Now, whenever the complaint is being written, the guardian or the student will take it seriously. But if it is just narrated, if you just speak it out, then there will be a tendency for both the student as well as his guardian to ignore it. So lack of authenticity basically means that whenever the message is being written, the authenticity or the force of it increases. But this does not happen in case of oral communication. Now, written communication can be in the form of letters, circulars, notes, manuals. We are actually referring to whatever written communication takes place within an organizational setting. So like oral communication, a part of the total communication of the organization is in a written form. So written communication, or there has been an increase in the amount of written communication that is taking place over the years. Why? Because there has been invention, there has been emergence of new technologies like internet, fax system. So because of that, because social media, so because of that, there is an increase in the number of times we use this particular form of communication, which is written communication. But you must remember that written communication is also coming under verbal. So there are two types basically, verbal and non-verbal. And in verbal, there are two types, oral and written. So in one way, all the demerits of oral communication must be considered as the merits of written. So one is authenticity, as I have told you in case of when we were discussing the demerits of oral communication, I told you that oral communication will lack authenticity, but this does not happen in case of written, because whenever anything is in a written form, whenever an order has been passed to the employee in a written form, there will be a tendency of the employee to take it more seriously, rather than when it is just being narrated to the employee. Now, proof for future references, as I have told you, that whenever it is written, it becomes a proof. Now, say for example, a rule of the organization, if it is not written, it will often be violated. So to reinforce a particular rule in the organization, you have to write it down in the rule book. Performance records also, say for example, someone has been given a promotion based on his past performance, but the other employees can question that, okay, we have also done well, but what should be your defense, or what should be the defense of the manager at that point of time? The defense of the manager during that point of time will be the record that he has maintained regarding the performance of the employees. The communication in distant places is another thing, because whenever this has been overcome to a great extent in case of oral communication also, because telephone has been emerged, and all those many other ways by which you can video call, many other ways by which you can use oral communication. But at one point of time, communication in distant places was possible only through written messages. Anyways, demerits. One is costly. Why it is costly? Now, cost just does not mean the spending of money. Cost also means that you will incur time. So say for example, you write something. Now when you write, you will always be cautious regarding what you are writing. So you will spend more time to draft it, isn't it? So when you spend more time to draft it, the time that you spend in writing is far more than what you would have if you have narrated it or you have used oral form of communication. At the same time, there is an incurrence of cost also. Why there is an incurrence of cost? There is an incurrence of cost because when you have to write it, say for example, you write in a piece of paper with a pen. Now the pen is has a cost. The paper has a cost. So any means by which you write will incur cost. So it is costly not only in the form of money, but also in the form of the time that is spent while drafting the written message. Lack of secrecy. Now, sometimes communication requires, secrecy. Now, if it is written, there is always a possibility of the communication of the records being leaked. So, of late, you are all aware regarding how the social media has become a very, vulnerable place to be in, the social platform, mainly because of the fact that most of the, passwords have been hacked, and the hacker use it for his own purpose, or say for example to defame a particular person. So all these things can happen only when it is written. So there is always a possibility of the information which you want to keep it a secret, but it is being leaked. There is always a possibility. So these are the demerits. Now, besides words, in oral and written form, message can also be transmitted through without words. Such methods may be non-verbal. Say, for example, I don't know whether you remember or not, or whether is it being telecasted right now. Also, I don't know. But at one point of time, there used to be news telecast for the deaf. Now, the news reader will not use words, but how will he use? He will use his expressions, or he will move his fingers in such a way by which enables the deaf to understand. So there is a way by which you can make the deaf also understand. Okay. Now, however, in the organizational context, these are used as a supplement. Supplement means that these are used as a, you can say, support to the verbal communication. So non-verbal communication is important in the organizational as well as non-organizational setting. The dumb communicates without using words. The dancer of Bharatanatyam, say for example, a dance is also conveying a particular message, but here no words are being used. So non-verbal communication can take the form of body movements, the emphasis given to a particular words. Say for example, if a manager changes his tone while delivering or a teacher changes his tone or goes to an upper pitch while delivering a lecture, he increases his voice. It indicates that the teacher wants to emphasize on a particular matter rather than the other, or a particular matter is more important than the other. So facial expressions and physical distance between the sender and the receiver are all coming under this category of non-verbal communication. So an academic study itself has been developed because of that, because of the importance of non-verbal, and which is called kinesics. So kinesics is a study of non-verbal communication. So by this we end the discussion today, and this is the notes or the discussion that I have uploaded in YouTube. Also, I will share the link of this video with you in the WhatsApp group. So it actually is a discussion related to the next part of the first unit of business communication. Please make sure that you do not waste time in preparing. So before we the next part of the discussion I will probably upload it within 3-4 days. So along with doing the necessary shopping for puja, please spare a little bit of time to listen to me also, and please spare a little bit of time to go through the notes that I have provided, and I hope you will do so. So thank you very much and have a very good day.